And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Hope you enjoyed that brutal OST as we have returned with our first qualifying match of the EPT Spring America's Region Closed Qualifier. Which of these two players will make it through into the main event, into the main America's Regionals for EPT Spring? We're here for it. I'm here for it. We are here to bear witness. And spawning in the top right-hand corner of Crimson Court, we have the Brazilian Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing the CranKy Ducklings. It is Erik. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the American Terran player, the Red Terran representing the CranKy Ducklings, as well as this is a team kill. It is Dolan. The Danger Dolan against the Kangaroo himself. Let's go, Poppy. Let's go. As we're opening up with a 2x Reaper build. Okay, it's been a while. It's been a hot minute since I've seen this. It has kind of fallen out of fashion these past couple of months, but I'm happy to see it here once again. So 2x Reaper here from Dolan. Erik going for what looks to be a Hatchcast pool standard opener from our Zerg player. Meanwhile, if you're in the chat, predictions are open. Predictions are open. Place your bets on how you believe this series will unfold. Good luck in the chat. Best of luck. I am not going to bet on any of them. Of course, I can't because I'm a mod in the chat. But regardless, I want them both to make it through. That's all I want. Regardless of who wins here, I want the other to make it through as well in another qualifying match. We will be following our players as best we can. No bias, by the way. No bias. Not at all. But they better qualify. Here we go. And again, 2x Reaper here out of Dolan is going to be sending his Reapers across the map. Again, this is a build popularized by Björn quite some time ago, last year, 2 years ago even. It was November of 2022 when Björn and Maru were really whipping it out at DreamHack Atlanta and embracing it. And of course, Björn did run with it throughout 2023, did refine it, and Dolan is going to be bringing it out here and now. Now, the goal of this build is to have an abundance of Reapers early on. 3 Reapers is the ideal, and you contain your opponent. The goal here is to dance with these Lings, contain the Zerg player, and delay the third base for as long as we can. It's not really about killing too much. It's not about killing drones. If we can, that's ideal, but more about just keeping the Zerg player on the back foot. As now we're going for the add-ons. Third Reaper has arrived. We have a third CC in the main base. Dolan going for a macro build, very economic. It is going to be a 2-on-1. It's going to be 3 CC 2-on-1. Meanwhile, the Reapers do make their way into the main base. Can we get a Queen? Good reaction so far out of Erik. He does maintain his drones. Let's keep them alive. And Dolan is going to be forced out. It's going to be forced out of the main base. Rotating around once again. This time he gets a drone. Ooh, but did he overextend? The Lings, they do come in first round. Good target firing here by the Queens, and even though we killed one drone, we lose every single Reaper. Ay, ay, ay. Not like this. Looking at the unit slots tab, 1 drone for 3 Reapers. That was not worth it for Dolan. Again, he was baited in. Oh no! Across the map, we deny Stim. Not like this. The Lings, they get across the map. We get on top of the add-on. Stim is denied. Ay, ay, ay. This is the risk you take. The risk you take when you do go for something like this is if you lose your Reapers, you lose control of the base, you lose control of the map, and you lose control of your add-ons as we deny Sim, we deny the reactor over and over again. Oh my, not again! Ay, ay, ay. This is a brutal here. The constant cancels, the constant denies. As behind this, Dolan is getting into a much more economic follow-up. But this will delay any kind of 2-on-1. Ideally, you want Stim lined up with these medevacs. We're going for an add-on swap, the factory with the starport to get into medevac production to move out across the map with Stim. But Stim is oh so very delayed. It may even be worth delaying the add-on swap as well, and I don't know, maybe getting into Hellions for map control. We're going for the swap. We're going for those medevacs. And this is just a brutal position here. It isn't just Stim delayed, but without the reactor, this does impact the amount of Marines that we have. And Dolan is stuck at home. He's stuck at home, and Erik is free to expand. Remember, his third base was delayed, but now it's getting up and running. Now Erik, he can make up for his late third by droning up as heavily as possible. Queens are rotating over, creep is spreading. We are in Crimson Court, and this area on the right hand side is pretty well defended. We spoke about it, I think it was on Amphion, where on this map you have to mine through these mineral patches or break through these rocks to gain access to this area outside of drop play. So a very safe and secure base for Erik. And our tech of choice is not just Ling Bane, it is Ling Bane into Muta. Now what's interesting here is that we got the lair first, then we prioritized the Baneling nest to get into Baneling speed, so a very safe opener here out of Erik, going into a delayed Spire. Like usually when people are going into Mutas, you delay the Baneling nest and you get into a Spire as quickly as possible to invest into those Mutas. But Erik, he's playing it out very safely here. Very safe and secure, even making a couple of safety Banelings before we invest into Mutas. So Erik, he's respecting Dolan quite a bit here, and he just doesn't want to cut any corners. Doesn't want to take a risk against Dolan. That stim is now finally done. Combat shield's now on the way. Double drop is moving out. We do manage to clear up some of these tumors. We do manage to pick up a couple of tumors here before pulling back. Dolan, alas, is unable to really deny any creep here, at least on the right-hand side. Erik going to be able to get it up and running. +1 air attack is on the way. Ooh, big commitment here into the Mutas. And Dolan is establishing his third base. His economy is not looking too bad. Unfortunately, he's unable to hinder Erik. He's unable to be active. He's unable to threaten the bases, unable to threaten the drones, and barely able to threaten the creep tumors. So even though, yes, sure, Dolan, he's getting his third base up and running, Erik is left untouched. And that is a scary thing. Usually the Terran needs to be in the face of the Zerg. They cannot allow them to just drone up to 80 without any issues. And Erik, he's cutting workers at 65 to invest into said Mutas. Mutas that have been unscattered. Dolan is in the dark. He has not seen the Spire, has not seen the Mutas yet, and is in for a rude awakening. As medevacs are forced to pick up, Mutas are amassing. The question becomes, do we use the Mutas to chase down these medevacs, or do we go straight for the economic damage? Oh, no, he's not looking! He's not looking. Big Baneling connections. And Mutas are making their way into that main base, or into that natural. Mutas have arrived. SCVs are going down. And Dolan is racing back home, sending everything back here to the natural. Gets a Muta. Does manage to get a Muta, but that was 9 SCV kills. Ay, ay, ay. Erik rotating around. He wants the tank. Won't be able to get it. Their armory's in position. As we manage to get a couple more SCVs here at the third base. The turret isn't done. Turret not quite done. We bleed out another Muta. We find a tank. Well worth it here for Erik. Thors are on the way. More turrets being thrown down, but Dolan is just contained to 3 bases, and behind this, Erik has been droning. Or Erik is droning. 7 more workers on the way. Upgrades, infestation pit, hive tech, adrenal. Erik can get into whatever he wants from here. It does take down the turrets. Now finally, with the help of the Thor, we should be able to zone away these Mutas. There's no dancing with that Thor, but the Ling Bane is coming in towards the third. And tanks are exposed. We get 1. We get 2. 2 tanks go down. Banelings are trying to roll in. A good positioning here by Dolan. He will hold the line, but he will also lose his third base. 19 SCVs go down. The third base has been compromised. We get into the main. We take down and we deny drilling claws. Ay, ay, ay. And Erik, he's just wreaking havoc here, having his way with the main base, going for so many more add-ons. Just like the add-ons he killed before. Not like this. And again, you can see Dolan, he's trying to build up. I mean, he knows that he can get a more efficient army out. 2-2 is about to finish. 2-2 is going to be a big upgrade window here, a big upgrade timing for Dolan. But even with 2-2, there's still just so much working against him. Again, from here, Erik, he has his Hive, Ultra Cavern. Ultra Cavern's on the way, Adrenal, upgrades on the horizon as well. Not the best upgrades here as we're still working on +1 melee. So the upgrades of Erik are lacking, but the tech itself is solid. And even if Erik were to back off and max out to get into some ultras, Dolan, he still needs even more time to recover. And Erik should not be giving him that time. Erik should not be giving him that time, as the mutas, they are going to be threatening that main. Now once again going for the add-ons. Doesn't quite get the tech lab. He does get the reactor. Does get the reactor. He'll be expanding, taking another base. Getting a 5th. Again, creep is engulfing the map here. Spreading all around. Towards the 4th, towards the 5th. Erik, he takes down some of those winter mines. So far, again, solid control here from Erik. Does head back into the main base. Gets another 2 turrets. Gets turrets, gets reactors. I'm loving the Thor drop here from Dolan to try to keep up. But Erik has maxed out. And now here come the ultras. Now we do need a couple of seconds to get into kindness plating. That is still on the horizon. But Erik, he may just choose to go in even without kindness. +2 is finishing up in a couple of seconds. Ideally, Erik doesn't want to hit an anti-timing, as Dolan is maxing out. Like Dolan, he's been absorbing a lot of these blows. He's been slowly turtling up, getting up to his 4th base. Worker count is comparable, 71 SCVs plus mules. Dolan, he's still in this. I mean, Erik has had a lot of freedom. Does magic evokes the Thor. He's going to be able to bring 1 and a 2nd Thor down. Erik rolling in towards the planetary. Bailings don't quite make it in. At the same time, big fumble of the army. We fumble the Marines. We collapse on top of it with the ultras. GG gets called, and Erik, he will take game number 1. GG. Again, Dolan just dragged out of position there, and Erik was able to take advantage of him. But honestly, it was just a rough start. It was a rough start to begin with, where we had... It was just a rough start to begin with, where we had Erik shutting down the Reapers. Because the Reapers got shut down, he was able to get on top of the add-ons, deny Stim, deny the reactor for so long. And that just threw a wrench in the works. That just delayed the overall build and the timing of Dolan by so much. And Erik had so much freedom as a result. And again, this is a matchup that is so difficult to keep up with there. This is a matchup where like any kind of deficit early on snowballs out of control. Like the early game is so crucial. The early game is so important here in StarCraft in general. And it looks like we are being joined by another fellow caster. Oh my god, obrigado papi, fala galera. Cosmos is going to be casting alongside us. Cosmos, of course, the Brazilian caster, has joined the series. Do love to see it. Has joined the series here, and here we go. We are going to be settling into game number 2. As a reminder, it's a best of 5. Plenty of opportunity here to bounce back, especially on this map. I would not be surprised if we do something crazy like embrace mech from the side of Dolan. But for now, we're getting into game 2, and spawning in the bottom left hand corner of Alcione, we have our Brazilian Zerg player, the blue Zerg, representing the CranKy Ducklings, leading the series 1-0. It is Erik. And spawning in the top right hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the American Terran player, the red Terran representing the CranKy Ducklings, as well as this is a team kill having a very rough start in game number 1, but I'm sure looking to recover and bounce back in game 2. It is Dolan. Here we go. As Dolan is looking to set up another 2 racks opener. We have a racks on low ground, second SCV comes in, and the second racks is going to be thrown down. Interesting choice. Winding it back, if you remember the beginning of game 1, Dolan also went 2 racks Reaper. He went 2 racks Reaper, and it was a little bit lackluster. His Reapers killed 1 drone, and he lost every single Reaper, and that was the beginning of the end. That was just the beginning of the house of cards falling, you know, the dominoes that were falling one after the other, and you know, Erik was able to snowball out of control from there. So if we are going 2 racks Reaper, we do need to babysit these Reapers a little bit better. We do need to preserve them. My apologies here, as my apologies, this was a gasless opener. I did not realize that the gas was delayed, and this is gonna be not 2 racks Reaper, 2 racks Marine. This looks like a Future build. We have seen Future do something very similar, where he opens up 2 racks, basically like a 2-1-1 variation. He should be expanding behind this, going for the CC. There's a give and take here. There is a give and take. Now, the upside of this build is that when it comes to your stim timing, you already have a lot of Marines. You are building up your Marine count a lot faster, a lot earlier. So it does mean that your stim timing is going to hit harder as a result as we take down an Overlord. Nice pick off there. But yeah, the stim timing in your medevac drop is going to hit that much stronger, that much harder as a result. The downside of this build is no scouting. No scouting information. No SCV scout, no Reaper scout either, which means if Erik was going for a Roach Rush, Dolan would have no idea. Dolan's moving out just to take control of the Zelnaga, and he is going to be moving out a little bit further, threatening that 3rd base. But again, in general, Dolan doesn't see much. Behind this, we're going for a 4-racks follow-up. Bjorn, is that you? This is very old school. It's been months since I've seen this build. It's 2 racks into a 4-racks follow-up. This is going to hit like a truck. This is very committed. This is not all in. You can transition out of this, but it is committed nonetheless. Now, what is happening here? I was talking about a stim timing. Yes, there is going to be a stim timing. There is not going to be a medevac timing. Basically, we're not going for factory. We're not going for the starport. We're not going for medevacs. We are building up a death pool of a Marine army, and we're soon going to be moving out with stim and combat shields. Again, combat shields should be starting up soon. This is going to hit very hard. If Erik doesn't see this coming ahead of time, if Erik doesn't realize what's going on, if Erik undermakes lings, and if he undermakes queens, then this could end the game. This could just straight up kill Erik. Now, Erik's taking his 3rd base. He is droning up quite freely. So far, so good. But again, if Erik is too greedy, this build will punish him. Again, for those that are maybe curious about seeing more of this build, Bjorn used to do this quite regularly. Bjorn and Cure. This was 2 seasons ago on God, what was the map pool? Royal Blood. On the map pool of Royal Blood, you would see us a little more often. That was start of last year. I say start of like last year, like April, yeah, a year ago essentially. But a lot of the Korean Terrans were incorporating this as a follow-up to the 2 racks. There it is. Now we're transitioning into the factory, into the starport. Remember, we spoke about this. This is not an all-in. We are hitting a strong timing with stim and combat shields, and Marines are moving out. And what do we have to defend? We have a good amount of Marines, only 4 queens. Ooh, the queen count is very low. Low queen count is dangerous. Dolan, he does move forward. He checks the lack, and he does confirm the lack of 3rd. Banelings are in position. So Erik, instead of having a high queen count, he goes for a fast Baneling nest. Dolan, he sees the army. He wants none of it. He's rotating around. He wants to check the 3rd base. Does scan, does spot the Banelings. Dolan, does he go for the dive? With good enough target firing, he could try to make this work. But no, Dolan backs off. Doesn't like his chances, doesn't want to risk it. He will retreat. Now, what's important about what just happened? Yes, Dolan, he doesn't end up trading, but look at the drone count. Erik, he has been cutting workers. Like, he has been delaying his droning. He's still only on 48 workers. He's still just now saturating his third base. Erik doesn't have the best economy, and he's rushing into a very fast Hydra den. Oh, very fast Hydra den. So Ling Bane Hydra out of Erik. But again, his droning has been a little bit lackluster. And more importantly than that, is that Dolan did not throw away his army. There was a sim timing, and he passed it by. And he retains all of his Marines, and this means he can hit another timing instead with +1, with tanks, with medevacs. So Dolan, he's going to be reinforcing this. We have tanks on the way. Starports are on the horizon as well. And now Dolan, again, this timing of this push is going to be a little bit later, but has more flexibility available. More maneuverability with that medevac. Again, so important that he retained this army, didn't throw it away. Did not throw it away here. As Erik, he does check the wall. And he is actually going to be able to bust in. Oh my god, the Maidens, they crash into the wall. We break on into the natural base. Tank is laid to siege. And the Marines, they do race back home. The tank is under fire, but we should be able to save it. Oh, this wasn't really worth it for Erik. He did force back the army, but he didn't get the tank, and he threw away a lot of banelings. And for what? For a reactor. As Erik is amassing another army. Again, a low drone count here by Erik. The Lings get caught out. Good start by Dolan. He's going to be pushing, scans ahead of time. Very important, just because Erik has been known to rush into burrow. Doesn't have burrow this game. We can see Erik trying to set up a surround. Setting up a sandwich. And Dolan from multiple angles. Here we go, Erik. He does collapse on this. Banelings, they will connect. Tanks are sieging, but a big engage here by Erik. He cleans up the tanks, cleans up the medevacs, and he takes the fight. That was insane. Honestly, Dolan in a head-to-head fight could have won that. He could have taken it head on, but he was caught out. Tanks were caught out, medevacs as well. A brutal surround. We clean up the medevacs, and Erik, he has the momentum on his side now. He's pushing out across the map, and Dolan, he lost everything. Ay. A brutal fight there for Dolan. Everything has been lost, and Erik, he can try to go for the kill. What do we have to defend? No bunkers, 2 tanks, a handful of Marines. Erik, he checks, he confirms that the third base has not landed. That's all he needs. No third. Erik, he's content with that. He backs off, and he's taking his own fourth. So 4 bases against the 2 of Dolan. Third base will soon be taken, to be fair. But any kind of build-up that Dolan had, it's not there anymore. Not anymore. Not anymore here. Ooh, as another medevac goes down. These are brutal losses here for Dolan. These have been brutal losses. And Erik, he's taking control of the map. You know, with the death of these drops, that means that Erik, he's free to just spread his creep, to expand, to drone freely. Tech up, Hive is on the way, Infestors, Lurker Den as well. Erik can do as he pleases. Do as he pleases here. You can see that Dolan's still being active, and he knows he has to be. That's the problem here, is that Dolan, he cannot just relinquish map control, despite the fact that things are looking so dire. Once again, Hydras from behind. They don't get the medevacs this time. Meanwhile, Liberator towards the north, another Liberator towards the south. We get 5 drone kills. That's okay. It's a good start. Here's a good start. We do need more, as there's a spore in position. The Liberator gets a couple of workers before going down. Does get a couple of workers. You can see the creep, it's getting out of hand. It's getting out of control. It's getting out of control at this point. As Erik, he's encroaching upon the would-be 4th base. Dolan going to try and take it, but I don't see a world where you can hold on to this fourth. Should not happen. Should not be able to. Yeah, so the armies are going to be dancing with each other. And Erik, he actually hasn't been droning up too much. We spoke about this before, but this is a problem that Erik has, is that he is not one to drone up too freely. Dolan is on 81 SCVs. Erik, he's only on 70, down to 68. Now he's droning, but honestly, these workers, they could have been made earlier. This is one of the big weaknesses of Erik, is that he is not one to, or he's one to just delay his droning. Because of that, he's not as ahead as he should be. He's not as far ahead as he should be. But tech-wise, he's there, right? We have lurkers, we have hive tech, we have the hive upgrades. Vipers have arrived. Army sizes are comparable. Can Erik break through? Lurkers, they do siege. And the Banes, they crash into the planetary. Planetary goes down. Planetary does fall. We go for the scan. We yoink in the tanks. We get 1, we get 2, we get 3. Yeah, big pickups there by Erik. Denies the 4th. Takes down some of those tanks. And Erik doesn't have to force the issue. The reality is that Erik, he can just back off, remax again, and go for another push. Have a couple of fungals being thrown out, so you ain't getting one more of those tanks. It looks like Dolan does take a fight. He does force Erik back. Good tank volleys. Again, this time his tanks were within range. The scary thing here, though, is that Dolan still doesn't have a 4th. His 4th base is still not back up and running. So Dolan, he has a finite amount of resources. And he is running out of steam. Dolan is going to be unsieging, he's going to be backing off. I mean, he knows that there are Vipers out there and that blinding clouds are a big possibility. Has to be very careful with how he sieges and how he spreads out these tanks. Vipers, yep, they're ready. They are ready here. As Erik, he goes for a Ling run by, does find some SCVs. Managed to get like 1 worker, if that. Yeah, we go for the yoinks. 2 tanks go down. We do get another and another. Erik just taking control of that center. 14, 18 SCs get in. Oh my god, these things, they just wreak havoc. Left uncontested. 21 workers have fallen here at the 3rd base. This should not have happened. An insane amount of economic damage. Again, Dolan, his attention was split up. Wasn't able to here, as Dolan is going to be pushing here on the right-hand side. Worker game not looking too bad. Looking too bad here as we get another Ling run by, not like this. Oh my god, as once again we get a full mineral line here. Dolan just doesn't have the supply to defend back at home. He's turning back around. Unfortunately, there was nothing in position. We get another 18 workers. Now Dolan does have the army supply lead. But he's had that for quite some time. He's just been unable to make use of it. Whenever he moves down, he comes back home. He's just forced back home. And at the same time, Double Knight is swarming into the main base. Looks like we spotted it though. Dolan is on the way. A couple of lurkers are going to be coming up, but the army's in position, and yeah, Erik is going to be throwing these lurkers away. Not that it's straight from the Zerg player, but at the same time, we do collapse here on the left-hand side. The Nidus Swarms are immediately a distraction, and we get so many tanks here. 3, 4, 5 tanks go down. So far, Erik just doing a great job here at just trading efficiently, pulling apart the attention, and just picking away at Dolan. Now the Nidus is finished, nothing quite comes out. Dolan down to 56 workers. Erik, he's on 92. Jesus. And just getting to 3-3. Is getting into 3-3 at this point. Looking towards his upgrades. Lurker tech. From here, we could even go for an Ultra Cavern. That's what I would personally like to see, is just take up into an Ultra Cavern, into a Spire, into a Greater Spire. Just make sure we have access to all the tech. Was Erik, he does spot the would-be fourth. Sees the army. Erik rotating around, knocking down those rocks. He knows he cannot allow this base to get up and running. Not like this. Not for free. And we'll see if he can. We'll see if he can break this here. Once again, double Nidus Swarm into the main. Dolan is repositioning his tanks. The boys are being pulled. We do end up sending a couple of drops over. And in that moment of weakness, we do collapse on this base. Command center goes down. We get on top of the tanks as well. And GG gets called. Erik, he does snowball out of control. He breaks on through, and he does take a 2-0 lead in the series. GG. GG, well played. And this was not a bad game out of Dolan. Remember, the initial build, I feel like the execution was done quite well. It was a 2-Rax Marine into a 4-Rax follow-up on 2 bases. It was able to get across map, trade quite well, transition into his eventual tank push with his Medivacs. Unfortunately, there was a big fight. There was a big fight that occurred where Erik was able to get a full surround of the army, coming from multiple angles, connect with his Banelings, and completely shut down not just the push, but also the tanks and the Medivacs as well. It was just a complete cleanup of the army, something you don't see too often, and yeah, from that moment, Dolan was on the back foot. Dolan, he almost recovered. As you saw, Dolan was getting his 4th base, and he was just able to settle back into things. But unfortunately here, Dolan is up against the wall. He's up against the wall. He has to fight back here and now to force that, or to extend the series and have a chance at the ace match. The pressure is now on Dolan. The pressure is now on Dolan. Here we go. As Erik needs one more win here to qualify for the main event. Dolan needs to fight back here and now to keep that dream alive. As a reminder, the loser of this series will have another chance in another qualifying match in the lower brackets. I'm not sure who they're going to be facing off against. The bracket is progressing. After the series, we can take a moment to catch up on the bracket itself. As it looks like all the upper qualifying matches are underway. Meanwhile, for those that are curious, Ryu is actually playing against Rob in the lower bracket. They're mid-series as we speak. They're in that ZvP, so I do wish Ryu the best of luck. As he is up against his opponent. I'm uncertain where the loser of this series gets dropped down to. I'm uncertain. We'll have to piece that together. A couple of players already raiding. Already raiding here. Meanwhile, it looks like Dolan is asking for a moment. He's asking for a moment here to catch his breath and to recover his mental state a little bit here, which makes sense. Does make sense. We're more than willing to wait. Dolan just needs a moment here to recover. And then we're going to be getting right back into this series. Oh boy. We're starting up. It's coming, man. It's coming. Doesn't Dark also play often for a long time on 60 to 70 drones? Depending on the playstyle. Specifically what you're referring to is if Dark plays Ling Bane into Hive. If he plays Ling Bane into Hive Tech, he will stay on a low drone count because the goal of that style of Ling Bane into Hive is for map control. Is that you make an abundance of Ling Bane and you gain map control, you contain your opponent, and then after you're able to accomplish that, then you can start droning. So yeah, Dark does similarly play that style from time to time. Going down. I think this was that Nidus was worth it after all. Yeah. It was a good move. Like the Nidus was just a big distraction for Dolan. It was just a big distraction. He was able to get so much more done with that. They have similar aggressive styles. They do. Yeah, when it comes to kind of this like low drone kind of style of play here, Miyamika is another big one. Miyamika, he also suffers from it, where he can look so damn good, but because Miyamika stays on a low drone count, if he ever does take a bad fight, things can very quickly look worse for the Zerg player. That's something that I should emphasize, is that because of that low drone count of Erik, if he did trade too poorly, then he wouldn't be able to rebuild as quickly, wouldn't be able to remax, and the game would look very different. It would look very, very different there. So we'll see. We'll see how this all comes together as we're getting into game number 3 on Amphion. Let's go. Here we go. We're getting into our next game, and spawning in the top left-hand corner of Amphion, we have our Brazilian Zerg player. The Brazilian Zerg, the blue Zerg, representing the CranKy Ducklings. What does he stand for? He stands for Endurance, Righteousness, Intellect, and Kangaroo. He needs one more win to qualify for the main event, for the regionals of EPT Spring Americas. It is Erik. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the American Terran player. The American Terran, the red Terran player, representing the CranKy Ducklings, as he is also one of our own. It is Dolan. He's down in this series. He has to fight back here and now to extend the series, to force the ace match. Again, there's a lot of pressure here on Dolan. I want to believe he can bounce back. I know that he can take some maps. I know that he can take a series. But we'll see what we decide to go for here. What do we embrace? Where are we headed? And we have had already some quite interesting builds from the side of Dolan. From the side of Dolan. As here we go. Behind this, we do have just a standard hatch gas pool opener. Hatch gas pool out of Erik. Overlord is moving out. Likewise, Dolan going for a Rax expand. This time a much more standard opener. A much more standard game from Dolan. Let's go. A much more standard setup here, as opposed to the 2-Rax Reaper that we've been seeing, or the 2-Rax Marine into 4-Rax. do see that Dolan has been mixing it up quite a bit. And there we go, our Reaper's moving out. Again, we're loading into Amphion. We spoke about this previously in the ZvT between Erik and Ryu. But of course, there are minerals that you can mine through to expand towards the left-hand side. A much more secure base expansion pattern that you can go for. Ooh, as Reaper does get into that natural base, going to be applying a bit of pressure, going for the drone. Reaper is forced out, and what do we have in the main base? Oh, he wants that drone. We'll get it. Drone goes down, and we make our way into the main as well. No, we're following the links. We need a scout. The Reaper. The Reaper's busy chasing those links, going for another drone. And we have not scouted. We have not seen that Roach Warren. Very fast Roach Warren here out of Erik. Now, Dolan, he does take note of the lack of saturation of the lower drone count. That is true. Lings are racing across the map. Reaper is forced to turn around. And the Reaper may have killed one drone, but Erik, he's going for the SCVs. He's applying quite a bit of pressure. It's going to be a 1-1-1 build out of Dolan. Okay. With a 1-1-1, we can get into a faster Banshee, for example. Be quite assertive. As Reapers are going to be dancing with these links, cleaning them all up. But behind this, Roaches are amassing. The Roaches are on the way. And Dolan still doesn't know until now. Now he knows. Roaches, they have been revealed. Dolan racing back home, evacuating his natural base, pulling back into the main. Hellions are on the way. Cyclones are in production. No bunker. No bunker, but we do have Banshees. And bearing in mind, Erik is droning. Erik, he is droning up behind this. He's not all in. Roaches, they take down a Reaper. Good control here as Erik, he pulls back the weakened Roach. Reaper does go down. The Roach is under threat here, but we do manage to break out of... Oh, no, we don't! We pull back too soon. Roach pulls back a little bit too soon. It is not saved. We managed to get the Hellion, but the Ravagers, yeah, they're going to be forced back. They cannot keep pushing. Behind this, Dolan going for a fusion. Oh my god. Fusion core follow-up here out of Dolan. At the same time, we do have a fast lair on the way here from Erik. Settling on 2 bases, droning up, getting to his 3rd. Spores are on the way. As a reminder, we have Spores on the way because of the Banshees. The Banshees were revealed. The Banshees were spotted. As with this tech lab, we're not going for an add-on, so we can head into battlecruiser production. And this can lead into mech. I'm feeling mech here. I'm feeling the mech Papias. The Banshee is going to be threatening the bases as best it can. Is going to be threatening those bases. Is going to be rotating around. Cyclones, they have arrived. And there's that battle cruiser on the way. We get on top of the 3rd base. We're looking for a cancel. Trying to at least. Erik is going to be able to hold on. Is going to be able to hold. Drone is going down. We do take down the Spore. Spore does form. We're getting a lot of damage here on the base. The base itself getting very low. As we are forced back, there are the additional factories. Again, it is going to be mech from Dolan. I expected it at least once in this series, and we have seen Dolan achieve quite a bit with mech in the past. And I wonder if Erik is aware. I mean, once he sees the BCs, it's a big possibility. Once he sees a battle cruiser, he should know. Because that means that there are no medevacs, that means there's no support for the bio army. BC is going to be telling towards the top left. Dolan is going to be expanding. He's going to be taking his 3rd. BC is going to be waddling in. BC does go for a bit of a drive-by here. Gets a drone. The station bit has been thrown down. Dolan going for more workers, going for a queen even. Just drones for now. Getting 6 workers, and the BC will waddle away. Floats on into the dead space. Pretty good damage. 6 drones. 6 drones for a bit of hull damage, and the BC can walk back home. Meanwhile, behind this, we do have the range upgrades in production. Spire is on the way as well for Corruptors. Range upgrades going to be for Roaches as we are going into Swarm Hosts. Okay, that I was not expecting. Especially against BC. Okay, Swarm Host is going to be on the way instead. BC catches the tumors. Does teleport back home. Yeah, we're building up a more traditional kind of army composition. We have a handful of Cyclones initially, but now we're getting into mass tank production. Tanks and Cyclones. And finally, Erik is going to be pushing. Is moving out with his army. Ooh, the Swarm Hosts, they are getting caught out though. We do pick off 1 Swarm Host. Meanwhile, that single BC now up to 2. 2 battle cruisers here in towards that natural. We go for the Queens. Yamato is done. Yeah, Yamato is available. We do focus 2 of those Queens down. Yeah, Corruptors, they arrive just in time. Not before the Queens fall, but we're able to. Oh god! We're able to get a kill on the BC. Oh, brutal loss there for Dolan. BC goes down, a bit of a supply block as well. Corruptors, they are on the way. They are on the way here. We do have a couple of Locust Waves coming in. And Erik is going to be able to hold on. Does hold on to the front lines. Corruptors, they do get into the main base. Locust Wave delaying the CC. As Erik, he's causing so much chaos, he catches the Hellion Cyclone. Hellion Cyclone gets caught out. Banshee going to be going down to the main. And the Corruptors, they force the BCs to look back. And we do have a solid defensive line here with all these tanks. We're going to be able to hold on. Corruptors still being a nuisance. This Locust Wave, I'm shaking my head. Just, getting some value here or there. Let's get some value. Corruptors, they go for the planetaries, for the factories. BCs are going ham, and this is a bold move here out of Erik. He's going to be losing a lot at the same time. Does come in on the right-hand side. Corruptors are forced back. BC up, forces teleport. BC did go down. Not a bad trade here for Erik. This is massing his army. Greater Spire on the way. We do have a decent saturation here on 72 workers. Taking a fresh base, taking the hybrid base on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, we do have a mech upgrades at least on the horizon for Dolan. We have, of course, Blue Flame. We have the new Cyclone upgrade. Are just building up. What's it called? They rename it, right? It's Cyclone Engines, right? Instead of sorry, Hurricane Engines instead of Hurricane Thrusters. Yeah, I was just trying to remember. As we do manage to fumble here, we do connect with the Hellion Cyclone. Good amount of them go down. That's still a good amount of tanks though. We cannot commit. But the Broodlords are on the way. There it is, Hurricane engines on the horizon here for Dolan. That will help with it when it comes to the mobility here of these Cyclones. But here come the Broods. And everything changed when the Broodlords did attack. They're coming, Bobby. They're coming. Yeah, the tanks, they do not shoot off. We're not ready for this whatsoever. We have 11 Cyclones. Tanks are going down. Thors are on the way, but it takes time. It does take plenty of time to get into that. Here we go, the Cyclones, they're trying to break through the defensive line. Fungal will connect. And can we focus down all the Cyclones? Oh, we can focus out most of them. There's 2 left. 2 Cyclones remaining here. We're down to 1. 1 Cyclone, Bobby. Oh, and it gets targeted. And now nothing shoots up. Broodlords, they're having their way with their pure tank army. That's a kill on the orbital. Pushing in. We are pushing in. It looks like Dolan, he has been broken again with this Broodlord timing. And even before that, we had some weird swarm host play. We had some just a very interesting play style here out of Erik. And that's what we expect out of him. As he leads the charge with the Broodlords, GG gets called, and Erik, he will take the series 3-0, qualifying for the EPT Spring Americas Regionals. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations here to Erik as he does take the series 3-0 and he does advance on. My condolences to Dolan as he did put up quite a fight, and again there were plenty of games out there, or plenty of opportunities where he was holding his own, but just a couple things did go awry for him, and in the end does tap out here, does fall at the hands of Erik. My condolences, but congratulations to Erik. Congratulations. Congratulations. And yeah, with that, we are going to be settling into our next series. We're going to be following Dolan. Going to be following Dolan here into the lower brackets. Erik, he's made it through, and we have some updates. We have some updates to go through here. !B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the bracket yourselves. Looks like Future took down Riser 3-0. Future also qualifies. So Future and Erik are the first 2 to qualify, or Future, Erik, and Epic are the first 3 to qualify into the main event. Looks like Nina versus Foxter is still ongoing. I believe Nina versus Foxter is being covered by Dave Testa. I believe Dave is covering that. So if you want to tune into that PVT, Dave has you covered. Meanwhile, we are going to be heading down to the lower bracket instead, where players are being eliminated. And my heart bleeds a little bit here. It was a brutal result. It went all the way to the ace match. I don't know what happened, but I don't know what transpired in these games. But Rob took down Ryu 2-1. Went to the ace match at least, but Ryu has been eliminated from the qualifier. My condolences to Ryu. He's an amazing player, and I do rate him quite highly. I do rate him. I do know that he could have definitely beaten Rob, but again, not so sure what happened. I would not be surprised if Rob cheesed him the hell out. Rob was very cheesy and very aggressive against Dolan earlier today. Would not be surprised if he did that against Ryu. I would say that Ryu's biggest weakness is early game cheese and all-ins. That's where he does struggle the most. Like, Ryu, put him in a long game, put him in a mid game to a macro game, and he's looking like a beast. He's looking so damn good. But when it comes to early game aggression, that's where he can be vulnerable, and that's where he can be taken advantage of. So I would not be surprised if that was the case from Rob. Meanwhile, who does Dolan play against? That's what I'm curious about. Pili Pili takes down Chaos Fate 2-0. M. Canning takes down Inexorbital. Inexorable 2-0, Maple 6 and Apple Juice. And it looks like we have our next series. We have our next matchup here. Dolan, he gets knocked down to the lower bracket, and up next on the channel is going to be Dolan versus Pili Pili in another TVP. Let's go.